This week, we're going to the House of Pain. This masked marauder can definitely test your strength and stamina. We're talking Reef Donkey, AKA the Amberjack.
Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Things are heating up in our beautiful Sunshine State, and like Rick said, we have the AJs on our mind here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, and Captain Tommy Daninger, as you can see, is joining us in the studio. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Bree.
You've never been here before. How do you like it?
Hey, I love it. It's great.
Cool,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in, Tommy.
Well, we
cool
can't forget about Dave Farrell over at the CCA Workbench. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, hey, I'm back.
You are back.
Nice Bermuda trip. It was awesome.
Yeah, did you catch them over there, Dave?
Sunshine. The blue marlins are biting over there.
Cool. I can't wait to hear all about it.
So all we have to go is go to Bermuda.
That's all you got to do.
Bermuda, Bahama. Okay, so Tommy Daninger from the Northeast Strike Zone region is obviously here, and he's going to start us off with his AJ report. What do you say?
You know, Bree, the AJs are definitely a staple in the Strike Zone Northeast region. And, you know, if you ask anybody about them, they're definitely going to be the strongest, toughest fighting fish that we have offshore. You know, and I'm glad we're talking about Amberjacks this week because they are stacked up on both the nearshore and offshore wrecks right now. I spoke with Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he tells me most of the bigger fish are out in the 100-foot plus depths. Now he's targeting the larger wrecks that have a high profile coming off the bottom, and he's using anything from a live bait like a pinfish or a grunt to a jig, and he's even catching some of those AJs on a topwater plug. Now, Captain Jason says one of the most fun ways to catch those Amberjacks is to get them chummed up to the surface, and then he's going to toss that topwater plug at them. Just remember to beef up your treble hooks a bit because those offshore fish are running anywhere from 40 up to even 100 pounds. Now, you can also find those jacks on the nearshore stuff like the Leon Roddy and 9 Mile out of St. Augustine. And again, you can use live bait or a jig, but you know, those closer in fish can be a little pickier than the offshore ones, so a lot of guys are going to chum them heavily with pogies, and that's usually going to get them in the mood to bite. Now, I've got a picture here. This is Aaron Bethels with a big AJ that he caught with Captain Jason aboard the J-Hook out of St. Augustine. You know, staying offshore, you know, all the offshore captains I've spoken to this week are really looking forward to this full moon, and it's going to have those mangoes fired up. You're going to look for the fish to be really schooled up as they're going to be spawning. Now, to catch the big ones, you're going to want to be in a 100-foot and deeper range, and you can fish them on the bottom using sardines, but most of the guys are going to try to get them chummed up behind the boat. Now, use chunk sardines and start a steady chum line, and once the fish come up, drift back a piece of that chunk sardine on a light 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader and a small VMC circle hook. Now, those mangrove snapper are running anywhere from 8 to 12 pounds, and I know of at least a couple of those captains out there are going to be looking to break some line class records, so good luck to those guys. Now, moving inshore, you know, the flounder are really thick right now in the Strike Zone Northeast region. And we're catching some big flounder in just about everywhere in the region right now. The jetty rocks, both in St. Augustine and Mayport inlets, are loaded up with them, as well as the docks and other structures around those inlets. Fish those areas about an hour on either side of the slack tides with a finger mullet on a fish finder rig with enough weight to hold the bottom. Now, over the last couple of weeks, the flounder have also gotten thicker in the backcountry creeks and flats. The best bite is going to be on the outgoing tide, and you want to fish the runouts and smaller creek mouths with a finger mullet or a mud minnow on a 1/4 to 3/8 ounce jig head. Just look for those areas that are loaded up with the schools of those small mullet and pogies, and you're probably going to find a flounder or two sitting underneath them. Now, I've got another picture. This is Rob Beebe with a nice flatty he caught with me at the St. Augustine Inlet earlier this week. Now, you know, I thought we'd give the redfish a break this week and talk about the snook bite we have going on in the south end of our region. I spoke with Captain Jason Phillips from PhillipsBrosCharters.com, and he tells me that the snook bite has been good down in the Flagler and Ormond Beach areas. Jason said because of the mild winter we had this year, the snook are thriving, and right now they're chewing pretty good. Now, he's been catching quite a few snook in the flats and creeks near High Bridge this week. Jason says he's targeting oyster bars, grass points, and creek bends with a topwater or subsurface Rapala plug early in the morning. And once the sun gets up a bit, he's switching over to a live mullet or a shrimp on a jig head. Now, Captain Jason also said the docks in Ormond Beach have been holding some big snook at night along the lighted docks. A soft plastic paddle tail or a free line live shrimp have been the go-to baits for the dock fishing. And I got one last picture here. This is Kenny Jones with a nice snook he caught with Captain Jason right there in Bulow Creek.
So Tommy, what do you think about being here in the studio, dude?
It's cool, man. It's real face-to-face time.
It is face-to-face
It
time.
is.
Thank you so much for
Thanks.
making the trip down. We're gonna go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Northeast region. Let's see what Captain Tommy says to do. Inshore, flounder are stacking up in the creeks and the flats close to St. Augustine and Mayport inlets on the last couple hours of the outgoing tide. And then offshore, mangrove snappers from 100 feet and plus on the wrecks and ledges out of St. Augustine. And then you're gonna chum those fish to the top when the current allows, Bree.
All right, well, next up is the Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen. Pat, what's going on up there for this weekend?
Hey, Bree, it's been hot up here, but the fishing's been good as well. And as far as the Amberjack fishery, it's a year-round fishery. We've got good nearshore action, particularly late spring and early summer. And increasing the minimum size limit to 34 inches has really helped that nearshore fishery. But if you want to catch the big jacks, look for those high-relief wrecks and natural bottom in depths over 100 feet out to 400-plus feet of water. They're midwater fish. You're going to mark them on your sounder and fish your baits at that depth. And the best baits are going to be high-energy swimmers like blue runners, mullets, a bonita if you're able to keep them alive. Or also a big white snapper or pogey is also a great bait. You want to use a long leader on a slip sinker rig to allow your bait plenty of leash so that he can swim around and generate some activity. And with the amberjacks, the bigger the bait, the bigger the bite comes into play. So if you really want to weed out those smaller jacks, go with the biggest bait in the live well. The Empire Micro Wreck, the Oriskany, the numerous tugboats, Liberty ships, concrete piles are all great places to find amberjacks. And there's a photo of David McNeil of Texas with a nice jack he caught with me on a deceiver fishing over a nearshore wreck off of Destin. So amberjack fishing is good. I'm looking forward to being open again.
All right, Pat, what else you got for us offshore there, bub?
Bottom fishing boats work in a natural and man-made structure in 180 to 250 feet of water, are catching some really nice mingo snappers, also known as vermilion snappers or beeliners locally. The bigger fish are generally coming from deeper sites. Really great eating snapper. I kind of compare them to those yellowtails that you guys catch down in the Keys, Rick. They're certainly better eating, in my opinion, than a red snapper. You're going to catch them on cut bait, either squid or minnows. 2 to 3 hook chicken rig is the way to go. Biggest ones often come from using a small cigar minnow or a small live bait on a Carolina rig. They're smaller snappers. These vermilion snappers are smaller, 20 to 24 inch fish being a pretty good one. But I tell you what, those are some of the best eating snappers we got out there. And then moving inshore, there's been a lot of Spanish mackerel along the beaches, just off the second sandbar, but also in the gully between the beach and the second sandbar. And there's been some bigger Spanish coming from the bays, particularly along the southern shoreline of Pensacola Bay, over near the Coast Guard station, and also in the lumps in St. Andrews Bay. Along the beaches, you want to troll gotchas, straw rigs, or a crocodile spoon. You may have to put up with a bunch of bycatch from hardtails and ladyfish, but once you find those Spanish, kind of work that area really well. In the bays, fish that deeper flat near the inlets or the lumps, like over in St. Andrews Bay. You can chum with live pilchards or pogies, and then work those flat edges with flashy hard baits, like a Rapal swim bait or a subsurface swim bait. And then finally, the speckled trout. It's been really hot, so the daytime bite's been a little bit slow, but the nighttime bite has been good. Fish the dock lights, especially on the moving tide. Use a free line live bait like a shrimp, a finger mullet, or a pilchard on 10 to 15 pound test leaders. And if you want to go artificial, a soft plastic twitch bait by Bass Assassin in a natural color is a great choice. On the fly, a small deceiver or shrimp pattern is hard to beat. And typically you're going to catch 1 to 3 fish off of a light before the bite shuts down. The fish will still be there, but they're just not going to bite anymore. So move on to that next light. And again, look for lights on deep water points or with moving water with deep water nearby.
Thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Captain Pat says, inshore, big Spanish mackerel on the grass flats, edges on the bay side of the Coast Guard station in Pensacola using topwater hard baits, plus some swim baits. And then offshore, amberjacks on the deep water high relief wrecks using slip sinker bait rigs and live hardtails, pogies, or maybe a pinfish, Bree.
Well, we just got started, so stay tuned because coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're visiting the Northwest region and then we're headed to Humminbird's Off the Deep End Report with Dave. Get excited. Dave, what you got for us today?
We're going to be talking about the Amberjack.
What,
How to catch
really?
those buggers. Yeah.
We are? No way.
I got some stories.
Okay.
I have a couple stories.
Okay, good.
Stories are good, Dave.
Long story.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Humminbird. Simply, clearly better. Decks and Docks Lumber Company. Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts. www.kingsailfish.com.
All right, guys, we brought you to this construction trailer to talk about trucks today. Anybody know which full-size pickup offers a V8 that can tow up to 12,000 pounds?
The Chevy.
Ram.
I say Ford.
What do you think?
Whoa, what was that? What are you moving?
We're going. It's the answer to the question, baby. Silverado.
Yep, Chevy Silverado offers best-in-class V8 towing.
You guys weighed me before I came in here?
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Now it's time for the FWC News and Notes. July 23rd is the Women's Saltwater Fishing Clinic in Panama City, and September 17th there's a Kids Fishing Clinic in Sarasota. For more information, visit myfwc.com, but now it's time to go off the deep end.
Well, Humminbird takes us off the deep end every week here at the CCA Workbench, Dave. And
Right.
I see you got lots of great goodies
Well,
here
you know,
to talk about.
we're talking a lot. We got a lot of stuff here that catch amberjack, and the good thing about an amberjack, there's a lot of things that will catch an amberjack. They're very, how you should say, voracious. They like
Voracious.
they love to eat just about anything that gets in front of them, especially if it's a live thing. You know, when you're bottom fishing a lot, when you know, back in the day, you know, before amberjack got hammered, in the late 90s, they got hammered commercially pretty good. But you could go to just about any wreck in Florida, and it would be hard to get a good bottom fish up off the bottom through the amberjacks. And then, you know, they opened up a big commercial fishery for them, and they got hammered pretty quickly. And then, dang, it became hard to find an amberjack. And then they became protected again, and now they're starting to come back more and more. I mean, one of the first trips I took was at my job was down to the Keys to do a boat review, and we were catching 80 to 100-pound amberjacks in 400 feet of water off the Keys. And it was brutal. It was brutal because the amberjack, he doesn't stop fighting. When he eats something on the bottom, he stays on the bottom and doesn't want to come off the bottom and stays just like a tuna. Right. He's like a yellowfin tuna or any of the big tunas, except he's a jackfish. And once you hook him, he's on the bottom. So you need really heavy gear to pull him up off the bottom because he's going to fight all the way up. Now, you know, these new butterfly jigs, well, I call them new, I'm an old man, but the butterfly jigs work great on them. Anything that'll catch a grouper or a big snapper will catch an amberjack, especially like I said before, if it's a live bait. A good thing to do, you know, is when you come up on a tall wreck or something, you're looking for things that come up off the bottom a pretty high, a high relief wreck, a high ledge. The higher it is, the more chance it has of holding an amberjack. And you can see them on your sounder. When you pull up onto the wreck, you can see them. They'll be suspended, you know, 30, 40 feet above the top of that thing. You say, oh, that's them. Right. Usually you'll know it's them when you first try to drop something to the bottom and hook them.
Hit on the way down.
You know, they'll eat stuff on the way down, and plus they'll eat anything that you catch coming up. They love spoons, anything that's shiny, and you know, little jigs. What's most important when you're catching an amberjack though is to figure out what your tackle can take and what your angler can take, especially as far as how much drag and stuff you want to put on it, and your hooks. Because if you're using really heavy tackle, you can't put a little limber hook on there. Right. Because you'll pull the hooks out. So if you're using a really heavy drag, you can't have a little light angler. You know, you gotta set your drag up to these fish. If you're in a place where you're catching, you know, amberjack over 50 pounds, don't get a little 10-year-old girl and stand her there with 30-pound and you know, crush her. You know, make sure she's set up properly with the right tackle to handle those kind of fish. Because these fish can crush you. They you know, they're not called, you know, that donkey for nothing. They pull and pull and pull. They're a wide-bodied fish, and they got that big, deep tail, and they can kick and kick, and they don't stop kicking. They're not that great to eat. You know, a lot of people, you know, they got hammered there commercially. They're moderately good to eat. You know, they're not a great fish to eat. If I catch them, I would end up smoking them usually back in the day, because that's how I like them best. But you can cook them anyway.
So Dave, I noticed you got some of these Williamson poppers.
Well, the good thing about an amberjack, even though he's down deep, you can chum them up to the surface. They're not afraid of a boat. That's another good thing about them. They're not real skittish. Once you anchor up on a wreck and you get a lot of chum in the water, they will come up to the boat. And once they're on the top, that's when you can throw, you know, a nice Williamson popper or something at them.
Cool strikes.
Gets great. You know, it's the best action you can get from an offshore fish, in my opinion, you know, unless you're in a school of tunas that are doing that. Right. But a tuna fish school is skittish, you know. Right. You catch two and boo, they're gone. You can sit there and hammer a school of amberjack one after the other for, you know, a long day. But you can only keep one per person. And now, you know, in the Gulf of Mexico, it's gone up to 34 inches, I think now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 34 inches since January. But, you know,
now, you can get really big. Inches from the nose to the fork?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And cool. You know, we get big ones in this state. You know, the world record's like 150 some odd pounds. I think the world record in Florida is 142. So, you know, we've got as big as they get. You know, we got them here. So, you know, if you're wanting to catch something that'll test your tackle, you know, the amberjack's the thing to do it. And you know, if you're out there, you know, you're going to want to use 80 to 100 pound test leader. And that's mainly for, you know, when you get it close and the guy reaches over to grab it and get it close to the boat. You know, you want your leader to hold. They don't have a whole lot of teeth.
You can steer him over.
Yeah, you just want to be able to pull him to the boat without having to, you know, break your leader, because he's going to be pulling all the way to the top.
Right.
Yeah, and you want to use, you know, preferably a live bait. You know, that'll be your first choice if you're targeting them. And the best thing to do is to catch whatever's there on the bottom. Use a sabiki rig or something small, you know, a heavy style sabiki rig, so you can catch little snappers and little grunts. Anything that you catch on that wreck and drop it on that same wreck, it's going to be a much better bait than what you catch somewhere else and bring it. Even though, you know, go ahead and use those hardtails or whatever to start off with, because if it's living and moving really quick, an amberjack can't resist. He's gonna pile on it.
I know.
So
I get it. I like it. All right, Bree, we got to pile into a new region, so let's go.
Knew you were going to do that. Okay, in the YETI Northwest region, Captain Jeff Hageman is ready to get you your AJ bite for the weekend. So, Hag, give us the goods.
Just like Dave was talking about, the reef donkey. They can be mostly throughout most of my region, 60 feet of water and out, structures, reefs, wrecks. We have a lot of springs in our area, too. So in the wintertime, they really like to gather up around the springs. And when it gets too hot, they like to gather up in these springs. And it's just a big freshwater spring underwater that pumps water out. And they like to gather around there. There's lots of bait around them. Pinfish, pigfish, threadfins, blue runner, all that stuff Dave was talking about. The faster moving baits are definitely the key. I do like to use a little bit lighter leader than Dave was talking about, but what he was talking about is true, but our fish can get a little shy with the water clarity. So if that water cleans up a little bit, sometimes you have to drop down to 60. artificials, diamond jigs, butterfly jigs, all work well. A 10-inch eel on a jig thrown out and retrieved as fast as you can. Throw it outside the sink and rip it back to the boat. Just pause it for a second and rip it back to the boat as fast as possible to get them fired up. Lots of chum, threadfin, and sardine pumped out there. I'll bring them up to the top. Also, like Dave was saying, you can get the fly rod out. They're fun on 12-weight fly rod, and you can chum them up right to the back of the boat and get them blown up baits. Our average is anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds, and we can get them up to 80 and even bigger. But we do have lots of them, and they're on most of our routes and reefs. Also, offshore, mangrove snapper right now. Captain Jason Limberger of Ruthless Fishing Charters out of St. Pete reports a really good snapper bite right now in 40 feet of water. He said they've been on fire. They've been schooled up on the artificial reefs and wrecks. Fish up to 4 pounds are being caught quite frequently. Tailhook shrimp on a 1-aught circle hook or a live pinfish on a knocker rig are both really effective right now. Now, the fish are still coming off that spawn and still spawning on this moon right now. So they're going to be ganged up, and if you want to go out and fish at night, it's a great way to do it at night also.
All right, let's go inshore, Hag. Yeah, let's go.
Captain John Lane of jbcharters.com out of Apalachicola reports a really good triple tail. They've made a good move into the bay right now. Most of them have been keeper size. The bite's been really strong on live pogies, he says, and they seem to not be able to turn those down. There's a lot of pogies in the area. The best places to find them right now are on the back sides of, the back side of the tide of the floating debris, pylons, crab traps, any kind of channel marker. They're going to be sitting on the back of that. So once you see any of those objects and drive by it with your boat, you don't really want to stop. You want to keep driving on by it. If you see a triple tail on it, let your motor noise get out of the way, then make a big swooping circle to get back to it and come up to them. You can either sort of trolling motor in the water or just drift into them. Also, a DOA shrimp works really well on them, and I've got a photo of some nice fish caught with John on a recent trip of his.
Nice, nice. I love it. All right, what else you got for me inshore, Hag?
The snook bite right now has been really good right now on the incoming tide, but the outgoing tide has been on fire. St. Pete, Tarpon Springs, the beaches and passes right now are loaded with fish. Freeline or weighted pinfish or sardines and grunts in the passes. And then on the beach, you want to fish that swatch channel. I'm talking about that little dip right before the sand meets the water, and then there's a little dip right there where the waves crash, and those fish will lay up there, especially those young buck males. Those little 25 to 20-inch fish, they'll lay right in that swash channel. The females will usually be out in the next one, and at night they'll move up into that shallow water too if they're out on the beach. And most of the time they're going to be closer to those deeper passes and any kind of structure like a dock or riprap or anything that's close to those passes or where the female's going to be, and they're going to be, those 40-inch nice big fish.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Northwest region inshore. Snook along the beaches and passes, live sardines, pinfish, grunts, drift on the outgoing tide, or fish in the swash off of the beach. And then offshore, mangrove snappers on any high relief structure from 20 to 75 feet of water, tail hook a shrimp on a 1/4 ounce sinker, and a small pinfish on a knocker rig.
Do you know what time it is, Ray?
It is, what time, Bree?
Not tarpon time. What else time going to be?
Oh, I don't know.
How about Ask Captain Rick time?
All right, let's ask him.
Tonight we have a question from Timothy Fauscher of Mims, Florida. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Captain Rick Murphy. My name is Timothy Fauscher, and I was wondering, what was the best bait to catch bull sharks with?
Oh, the best bait to catch a bull shark. I think the best bait to catch any shark, Bree, is a piece of barracuda. There's something about barracudas and their relationship with the sharks, because when we really want to catch a big shark, we go catch a barracuda and we either use that for bait, or more importantly, we use that to chum the bull shark in if we're fly fishing or fishing any artificials. Hey, great question, thanks.
Chummy. Oh, Timothy, it's Fauscher. Sorry, I kind of butchered your last name there.
Sorry.
It's very pretty, Fauscher. Okay, if you have a question for Captain Rick, send in a good quality horizontal video to our website, ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And remember, the question should be 30 seconds or less. But get ready for all you Southeasterners and Central Westerners. We're headed to your regions next with only the best captains in the state. We'll be right back. They're the best, right, Rick?
They're the best.
Okay, good.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I think it's time to change my battery. Now you do it. Get AC Delco batteries at Bennett Auto Supply. Plus, get $10 off your first online purchase when you register at BennettAuto.com. Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, but not alone.
How can you turn a redfish into a new truck or boat? Catch a CCA Florida Star Tagged Redfish. Prizes from Conley Buick GMC, Contender, Pathfinder, Hells Bay Boatworks, and Sea Hunt boats. Complete with Yamaha motor and trailer. Win your share of $500,000 in prizes and college scholarships during the summer long tournament. Other great prizes from Academy Sports and Outdoors, Bad Boy Buggies, Power Pole, Costa Sunglasses, and more. Register now at ccaflstar.com.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Casa Vieja Lodge.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, this whole cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today, we're talking about cars, but there's a catch. You're only going to answer me in emojis. This all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze has built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi with 24 gigs of data.
Wow.
Describe how you feel about the Cruze.
It's pretty darn cool, man. It's hot. Simple as that.
The Honda Civic doesn't have all of that.
Is that a Ninja?
Can't be seen in this car.
Nice.
Remember, for weekly reports from our 9 captains, you can go to our website at ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com or CFIFR.com. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at Captain McMurphy or Official Insider. We would love to see those fish-tastic photos of yours on Instagram or Facebook by using the hashtag CFIFR. Or just follow Official Insider, it's fine.
That's right.
No one cares about
You know, Bree, part of trailering a boat or part of buying a boat is certainly the trailer.
Yes.
And so we should never shortcut. A lot of people do, but let me show you why I use a Ameritrail.
Okay.
For over 30 years, Ameritrail has been making custom aluminum boat trailers that are fitted for just about any boat brand. This isn't your father's trailer. From the receiver to the tail light, everything is thought out and engineered to the highest standards. Even the smallest pieces needed for assembly are cut on site with a state-of-the-art industry machinery. At the factory, workers take custom orders from dealers, and the home office then molds the aluminum I-beams to the shape of your boat. Ameritrail has painstakingly created templates for every size, shape, and brand of boat to make sure the trailer fits perfectly. But the quality is in the detail of the aluminum and stainless steel brakes that are long-lasting, superior spot welds that mean less hardware to maintain, strategically placed keel pads that protect your trailer and your boat, classic-looking fenders that protect during road travel, aluminum wheel hubs that give that polished look, and custom non-skid decals that make the finished product an American-made masterpiece. Okay, so we know that Ameritrail trailers are well built, but how well do they work? Well, what makes Ameritrail so great is that they make easy work of loading and unloading. But just as important, these trailers ride behind my Chevy safely. Also, with their low profile, it really helps with my fuel economy, keeping the wind resistance to a minimum. Ameritrail also makes cargo, equipment, utility, and custom trailers And if you have any need for parts or repairs, Ameritrail can take your trailer at their factory and then make it as good as new. So whether you're looking for a new or replacement trailer for your boat, make sure you look up Ameritrail, where the idea and the quality and affordability go hand in hand, and there's no need to settle for less. Any questions?
I think you covered all of it. That was awesome. Nothing more American than Ameritrail.
That's
Look,
right.
Look. All right, Jumbo, Captain Jimbo Thomas from the Casa Vieja Southeast region is on the line with your weekend AJ report, so listen carefully.
Hey kids, how we doing tonight?
We're good.
Good. How are you, Jimbo?
I'm doing very good. But let's talk about amberjacks. You know, there's not that many amberjacks around our area this time of the year. You might get lucky and catch a couple around one of the deeper wrecks. But if you drop a live bait down on one of those wrecks in March, April, or May, there's a pretty good chance that a big AJ will eat it. Now get over any of the wrecks in the region in the 150 to 300 foot range and wash your fish finder. Any marks above and around the structure, that's most likely going to be amberjacks. And then you want to go up current and drop a big blue runner, pinfish, or goggle eye on 30 to 50 pound tackle. Use a long 80-pound monofilament leader and tie that to a 9/0 to 13/0 circle hook, depending on the bait size. And you want to use enough weight to hit the bottom. Hook the bait through the lip so it won't spin on the way down, thus tangling up your leader. What I like to do is hit bottom up current of the wreck and then reel up high enough so we won't snag the structure as we drift over it. And then when the current's moving good, the fish won't necessarily be on top of the wreck, so don't be afraid to make a long drift past the wreck. AJs are also suckers for butterfly and big bucktail jigs, and a lot of times they'll pick that lure up as you're dropping it. So if you feel it goes slack, good chance an amberjack grabbed it. They usually don't waste any time biting, so if you make a couple of drifts over a wreck and you don't get any bites, move on to the next spot until you locate those fish. The average size of these AJs 10 years ago was 50 to 60 pounds, but nowadays the average is roughly 30 to 40 pounds. Got a photo here. This is roughly a 40-pound amberjack that ate a live blue runner on a wreck off of Key Biscayne a few weeks ago. Now, staying offshore, the dolphin bite has picked up off Miami in the last few days, so they should start showing up to the north end of the region any time now. We've been finding schoolies and some larger fish from 6 to 12 miles offshore around scattered grass and floaters. There's also been plenty of small fish as well that we've been tagging and releasing. Now, these fish have been on birds. Well, they've had birds working over them, and the fish have been swimming to the south, and also there's been birds working over a lot of the floaters that these fish are on. Troll rig ballyhoo, small lures and feathers, that's been getting bites. Then once you locate the fish, cast small live baits and cut baits on spinning rods. There's also been plenty of small baits under the grass in the floaters that you can drop your sabiki rig and catch those small blue runners. That's exactly what these dolphins have been eating. Now, I got another photo, and this is a fairly decent catch, almost average what we've been doing in the last week offshore of Miami. Now, moving inshore, snook fishing has been good in all of the inlets throughout the region and around the spillway canals from Boca north to Palm Beach. The inlet fishing has been best in the evenings, fishing live pilchards and herrings or working jigs along the bottom on the outgoing tide. If the water is murky, they've been biting on both the tides. And if you're going to fish in those spillways, it's been best early in the morning or late in the afternoon using live pilchards or mullet or pinfish, whatever kind of bait you can get. Or you can use Rapal shad wraps or jigs with soft plastic tails. And then staying inshore, the peacock bass has been good in the lakes and canals of South Broward and Dade County. Best fishing has been in the middle of the day or right after an afternoon shower using small live shiners, small Rapalas, and lipless crankbaits in chartreuse, silver and black, or green and silver. And you want to work that bait extra fast. That's going to get you the most bites. In the deeper water, root beer-colored terrorize have been working well also. And it seems that the artificials have been out fishing the live baits in the last few days. Look for the peacocks that have been in the 2 to 3 pound range around any structure with clear moving water. There's also been some largemouth bass caught in those same areas as the peacock.
So, Jimbo, I got a question for you before we get to your hot spots. You know, you said the AJs used to average 50 to 60 pounds, and now it's a little bit smaller. Give me the Jimbo, the Thomas Flyer idea of why that is.
Well, a number of years ago, they opened a big commercial market for these jacks, so a lot of commercial fishing took place, and they were hitting them on the humps and around the wrecks when they were schooling up to spawn. Therefore, we were catching all the big ones, and then they started getting depleted, so they made some rules. They put seasons on them, so we're starting to see them coming back, but they still haven't been able to get up to that 50, 60-pound average. We still do catch a big one, and larger even, but they used to all be that size, and now they're 30, 40, probably more in the 30-pound range on average, which is still a nice-sized fish.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Southeast Region Center State Bank of South Florida hotspots. Inshore, look for the snook in the inlets and around the jetties using live and artificial baits. And then offshore, look for dolphin around the weed lines and floating debris in 10 to 12 miles offshore, Bree.
In the Startron Central West region, Captain Jeff Page has the hookup for your dream donkey catch. Let's hear it, Page.
Yes, we do. It's real quick. You know what? I don't think the viewers realize the years of experience that goes with our TV show. Like you were just asking Jimbo about stuff over the past 20 years, and we've got hundreds of years of experience with our captains, and I'm really proud just to be a part of it.
And we're proud that you're a part of it too, Paige. So let's talk about some AJs. I know you know.
We have no shortage of drag screaming action when it comes to Amberjacks in the Startron Central West region, and we have a variety of ways to take them. During the late winter, early springtime, the AJs will be holding on wrecks and ledges, as well as a lot of our artificial reefs in as close as 45 to 65 feet of water. As our water warms up, look for them consistently in 85 feet or on out. As far as catching them, get set up over your structure, start chumming with small chunks of sardines or pilchards. Then you can drop down a bottom rig or a Williamson Vortex jig. Once the action begins and they start following other fish up, you can keep them on the surface with a handful of pilchards or thread fins now and then. And then once you've got them up, you can throw heavy-duty surface plugs or a suspending bait. No matter how you do it, be prepared for a good workout. And I've got two Amberjack photos tonight. The first one is Devin York, and the second one is Ryan McIntyre, and they're both Yamaha technicians at Ingman Marine in Sarasota.
Wow, that's big.
All right, Paige, what else you got for me offshore?
Gag grouper. All my reports coming from down South Englewood all the way up to Anna Maria. Nice gags coming in, and it seems to be that 85 to 105 feet of water. Guys are doing better on the live pinfish or cigar minnows, but that doesn't mean don't bring out a few boxes of cut sardines. And they're not staying on each spot too long, Rick. They're moving from spot to spot, and the smaller structure seems to hold the bigger gags. Moving inshore, tarpon, number one on my list. Guys putting in the time are getting rewarded with some awesome late summer tarpon fishing and not a lot of boat traffic like it was a month ago. A lot of the poons are being taken on dead shad and thread fins on the bottom, anywhere from 100 yards off the beach to maybe 400 or 500 yards. The key has been determining the tarpon's trek for the day, whichever line he seems to be traveling. You want to get anchored up, put out 3 or 4 dead bait rods, and maybe 1 or 2 of your favorite corked pinfish, and then just sit down and relax, maybe read a book, have a cold Gatorade or something. And I got a tarpon photo tonight of Mark Douglas and his dog Zeke with a nice tarpon he got down by the Venice jetty.
What else you got for us, Paige?
Snook. Snook fishing remains our best bet in our region. Lots of the snook are on the beaches as well as in the inlets and in the bays and on the higher tides. And what I mean by that is once that tide's gotten up to that 2.2 on up, those fish around the mangroves and the oyster bars seem to turn on, and the best bet has been live filters or pinfish, and you can cork them as well. And other than that, that afternoon bite's been tough because it's so hot and we haven't had any rain. So the nighttime snook fishing has been really good, and nobody's been better at it than Dave Parmalu, the Mad Snooker. He's been doing real well on some big fish using live silver mullet and ladyfish. And my last photo tonight is a happy client with the Mad Snooker, Dave Parmalu.
Hey, Paige, I got a question for you. You know, I've been to Sarasota a million times. A million.
Oh, you've got it
and
back
I
up
want
for
to
us.
know, Paige, how come you never took me snook fishing at night?
Aww.
You know why? And you know the answer.
Because when it gets dark, you go to bed.
And if I stay up nighttime snook fishing, I'm done for about 2 days.
All right, Paige, thank you so much. Great report this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central West region. Red groupers, big reds holding on the hard bottom and ledges in 105 feet of water and on out. And then inshore, speckled trout being caught off of the deeper grass flats at the mouth of the Manatee River. Throw topwater plugs in and around the big schools of bait.
1 million.
1 million times.
Okay, everyone, get ready for your Central East report. Plus, we are checking out what new products Dave has for us at the CCA Workbench. Stay tuned to the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report. What are those, Dave?
Just had the iCast show. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Come on.
I'm not going to do that.
Put them up.
These are the little things to put on your coats. iCast show. Big
The
time.
Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. SoftScience, supreme comfort footwear. Center State Bank, we believe in community. Real legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Shallow Rap Shad's a jerkbait with a secret move. When you pause, the lure slowly rises. I tell you, man, it makes fish come unglued.
CCA Workbench,
Yes,
new
sir.
products.
Yeah, it
you
is.
just went to iCast. We should have lots to talk about.
We do. We got some cool stuff. The producer brought these little things that I was going, he was showing them to me, and I'm going, it's called the Little Sucker, and I'm going, I don't know, man. I don't think we should put those on TV. And then he showed me what they
how do
did.
they work, Dave?
Man, you put that little sucker on one of these deals here.
Yeah,
Get it down towards the bottom. And remember, this is wood that we're putting it on.
Right.
We got wood. And this thing will get down here right. It's got to be on here right, or it ain't going to work. Here we go. Try to do, it's probably
Like
not.
that.
Ah, there it goes. And you get that sucker down there. And it won't come off. You got it. Oh, you got it. You got it. Pull it.
It won't.
It won't
It
come
won't
off.
move.
It won't move. And that, and I tell you, when you're on a boat, and because this is wood, you know it's porous.
That's
You put this,
crazy
even
how
I
that
imagine that
works.
thing will work on anything. And there's nothing to them. You can put 5 or 6 of those on a boat. Keep your Yetis down. That's
crazy,
made.
dude.
Yeah, I know. That was made for a beer can. It'll stick to anything. Probably just about if it's got halfway smooth. And it's great. I imagine this was probably invented for a kid on his high chair, and they said, hey, this thing would be great on a boat because it
is
doesn't
great on
move.
a boat.
It's awesome.
So what's it called?
Sea sucker.
The sucker.
Well, not little sucker.
Little sucker.
The little sucker. Sea sucker's the other fellas.
Yeah,
But this
man.
is this Yeah, little suckers. Now these are voodoo jigs from TNA Jigs. These are cool little double jigs. They make them from 8 ounce, 16th ounce, all the way up to like I think a 3/8 ounce in that one. But those are great for pompanos, Spanish mackerel. You know, they make all kinds of jigs and jig heads. You can customize your jig. You know, if you come up with it, go on there online on TNA Jigs and pick out a jig head, any of the unpainted kind. You can get up to 13 different colors. Have them wrapped, however you like, what color wrap you want to put on there, what kind of material you want them wrapped with. They'll do any kind of custom jigs for you at TNA.
So I noticed, Dave, for yellowtailing.
Yeah, a little circle hook jig.
As you know, in the state of Florida, if you're fishing bait for snapper or groupers,
you got to have a circle hook.
You got to use a circle hook. So they created a circle hook jig for yellowtails.
You put that shrimp on there, boy.
That's cool, man.
That's going to be deadly. Deadly.
I like it. Yep. I like it.
Those guys are down there from Tavernier anyway, so they make good stuff.
So what you got here?
Whoop. One of my deals, I'm going to have to pick that up. Anyway, we got, these are, I got some out already. These are new O'Shaughnessy style hooks from VMC. These are 8/0s. And if you're trolling, you know, this is the hook that I first trolled offshore with. This catches dolphin, catches kingfish. You can, you know, tie something on here and make a cobia jig out of it. But the O'Shaughnessy style hook, and these are the VMC black coat, coastal black coating, very highly corrosion resistant. It's got a nice big eye, so you can tie, you know, your wire to it and give it a nice big swing. Just a really good all-around hook. And if you're gonna, you know, be trolling offshore in Florida, you're gonna be using
the coastal black.
The coastal, yeah.
Listen, 3 to 5 times, depending on the model, stronger than they used to be because of the new technology in the coastal black.
That's the deal with the coastals. They're super strong and corrosion resistant. And you know, if you're fishing every day, trolling every day, that's what you're going to want. You know, you want something that's strong and lasts a long time.
What's this sexy thing?
Well, there's 3 of them in here. This is actually from Grander Custom Tackles, and this is a dredge, fast loading dredge kit. And what you get is when you buy the kit, you get this head and 3 of these little heads. And what you do with these heads is usually when you're loading a mullet, a dredge full of mullet or ballyhoos, you got to wire the ballyhoo all up and, you know, or crush the, you know, buy your mullets and put weights on them and all that junk. Well, with these clear acrylic heads, once you knock the eyeballs out of the bait, you just stick the bait's head in there and get one of these pins and put it right through his eyeballs, and with his head in here. Let's see, it's one of these. Yeah, this one will go through.
What?
Right through the...
Come on, man.
You stick his head in there, pop him right through the eyeballs, and now your mullet just sticking out. And this is already...
From him washing out.
Yeah, it won't wash out. It's on the dredge. You're going to have a natural bait swimming back here, and all you have to do is pin it. You don't have to do all that crap.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, and this, you know, this head crimps right up into these heads.
Right.
So all that's sticking out is just this little head. And when you want to change a bait, you pull the pin, put the ballyhoo's head in there, put the pin back in. Now you've got, that's how easy to fill the dredge.
I like it.
And it probably makes a little rattle noise when that in there too, probably when it's going along.
What else you got over there,
floats
Dave?
your boat. Well, these are the new swim bait. This is probably... Nobody has these. These things were very hard to get. These are the new swim baits from Live Target, and they're just amazing. They're so realistic. They come with a pinfish, a sardine, a mullet, a thread fin, a golden shiner even for bass fishing. They're a perfect scale. The hook is inside. It's got a really, the hook and the weight are all molded in the bait. It's got a really wide gap hook, so your hook set's going to be amazing. Every one of these little fins, there's a tiny little wire in there that acts as a weed guard kind. It's not like you throw it in the lily pads or anything, but it's a little brush guard that'll keep things off of it. This really oscillating tail, it's a new design. It really makes that tail kick even at really slow speeds, and it's translucent too, so you can see the color and everything through the tail. So when that thing's swimming, it looks just like a real fish, and that's what Live Target's all about, is making things that look like it's alive.
Well, great job over here. Speaking of a Live Target, Bree, you're the target now.
That was a good transition. Looking alive over here. Okay, well, No-show Jim Ross is good for a few AJs or two. What's up, Captain Jim Ross in the Bells Real Legend Central East region?
You know what? Better late than never, gang. But you know what?
Just
if you're
kidding. We
chasing
love
reef donkeys and you're into torturing yourself for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, then, you know, you need to go chase them because these fish are tough. Most of the anglers around here are happy to land just one, and then they really don't care to go for another one. And you know what? A lot of times they just want to take a rest and get a nice cold drink. But most of the amberjack around here we have are the greater amberjack. And we also have lesser amberjack and almaco jack here in the Bells Real Legend Central East region. Now, all three of these jacks are decent eating fish, but the smaller ones are much tastier than the larger ones. So if you're going to keep them, you know, try and keep some of those smaller ones because you're going to enjoy them a lot more. Now, amberjack really like to hang on reefs and wrecks in the 150 to 250 foot depths throughout the year. And we choose live pinfish, pogies, sardines, and croakers as good baits to use on a standard bottom rig to get those fish to eat. We also use some 10 to 20 ounce jigs. Now, I tell you, some of the secrets, though, if you want to catch some really big ones, if you're really into torturing yourself, get a live blue runner and, you know, put that thing down there. A 1 to 2 pound blue runner is only going to be eaten by a big amberjack. So you're going to need to tackle up 80 pound braid or 80 to 100 pound mono and put about an 80 to 130 pound test suffix leader in front of that. Most of our AJs are running 30 to 50 pounds, but obviously the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish. So if you really want to break your backbone, you know, get out there and drop a big bait and you're going to find one. Now, the other species that we've got is cobia right now, and they're hanging on the wrecks in the 50 to 130 foot depths throughout my region. Now, be prepared because if you pull up on any of these things, as soon as you pull off plane, a lot of times they'll swim right up to the bait. Cobia love hanging on structure, and they're really curious when things come up to the structure that they're hanging on, so they go over to investigate. And, you know, have a sardine or a cigar minnow or even a finger mullet, just any kind of bait fish ready to pitch for them when they come up to the top of the water. Our average cobia only is running about 32 to 34 inches right now, so please try not to gap them if they look marginal. Try to put them in a landing net. But you know what? We've got a lot of them that are starting to show up because we've had a little bit of cold water here in the region throughout the last couple of days, and you can definitely find these fish on those reefs and wrecks that I was just talking about. Now, I've got a picture here of one that I threw one of the new Rapal long cast shallows to the other day. We were fishing over a wreck in about 55 feet of water. This cobia came up and absolutely slammed this bait. Had a big time catching it. So, you know, it's one of those things where you get to throw some new lures and you get to catch some tasty fish, and it all comes together if you're in the right place at the right time.
You're absolutely right, Jim. Let's go inshore.
Swinging to the inshore, juvenile tarpon are in many of the residential canals right now throughout my region. And the water has lower oxygen than some of those back canals, so you may not be able to use bait all the time. The tarpon can live back there because they can breathe air. But there's clouds of glass minnows back in those areas, and they're a fantastic food source for the baby tarpon. So what you want to do is get a small saltwater assassin, or it's actually not a saltwater assassin, it's called a crappie assassin. It's a little 2-inch speckled perch bait, and put that on one of those little assassin heads, and you can catch them on those little speckled perch bait. Now, the Arkansas Shiner color seems to be the best right now, but you can also throw small flies and catch a lot of those juvenile tarpon. And I've got a picture here of Rob McKee. He actually caught his 13th fish out of the previous 12 he hooked, and some of them even with me on my boat. He didn't land, but his 13th one was lucky 13, and he put that one in the boat, and he got that one on a live bait.
What a great fish. I like it.
We've also got, oh yeah, I'm telling you, Rick, those little baby tarpons are a lot of fun. I tell you what else, though. We have got some speckled trout in my region, Rick, and right now you want to get your kids out there and take them fishing because the trout are really, really good right now in the Indian and Middle Indian and Southern Indian rivers and a little bit into the Banana River. You want to use, you know, shrimp or jigs underneath a float, and you can give those to the kids. Have them throw them out there and twitch it a couple of times, and then, you know, watch the cork go down, reel the fish in. It's a pretty neat little magic trick if you're in the right place at the right time. Now, if you use a 1/8 to 1/4 ounce assassin springlock head and a 4-inch sea shad tail, that's going to, you know, catch most of those fish for you. Now, you will get some popper bites, so you're going to have to deal with that. And you're also going to get some catfish and bluefish and ladyfish and small jacks and other species that are biting on those jigs. But the trout is the main target there. Kids love them. Adults love to eat them. And it's just a big time if you guys and gals get a chance to get out there and start catching some of those fish in the Indian River right now.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says inshore, juvenile tarpon in the creeks and residential canals leading into the Indian River. Use live finger mullet on a 3 3.0 VMC circle hook, and then offshore mangrove snappers in 75 feet on the reef to 110-foot depths. Use chunk baits for to fish up to 12-pound snappers.
Wow,
Can you
good
imagine?
job. 12-pound snapper? What? Okay, I hope you've all been enjoying the Amberjack talk so far, but wait, there's more. Stay hooked to hear the Southwest and East region reports right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. We'll be back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapal. Catch the latest at rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. YETI, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
No matter where you are in Florida, Decks and Docks Lumber Company has got you covered for decking, seawall, and dock piling. From the Keys to the Panhandle and the Nature Coast to the Space Coast, we deliver the strongest products by the hardest working folks in the business. Whether you're fixing a dock or building a marina, go with the leader. Go with Decks and Docks. Supplying Florida's boaters, homeowners, and dock builders for over 20 years.
All right, guys, we brought you to this construction trailer to talk about trucks today. Anybody know which full-size pickup offers a V8 that can tow up to 12,000 pounds?
The Chevy.
Ram.
I say Ford.
What do you think?
Whoa, what was that?
What are you moving?
We're going.
It's the answer to the question, baby. Silverado.
Yep, Chevy Silverado offers best-in-class V8 towing.
You guys weighed me before I came in here?
Now, certainly your power pole anchor works great in shallow water, but imagine how it can work for you in deep water. Now, power pole has created some drift paddles which attach to your 8 and your 10-foot spikes. Now, the way this works is it can actually slow your boat down up to 50%. Now, using this switch system, it allows you to drop down the power pole on one side, changing your angle. If you want to slow the boat down even more, you can simply put both down. Now, this advanced dash control actually communicates with Sea Monster, and the Sea Monster essentially is the brains of the whole system. And next week we'll be talking to you a lot more about Sea Monster, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
Okay, let's give a warm welcome to our Southwest Bell's Real Legends captain, Ronnie Houston. Tell us what's biting out there this weekend, Ronnie.
Well, Bree, like always, it's always a pleasure. But you know what? The amberjacks in my region can be caught actually throughout the whole region and are targeted around structure, whether it be wrecks, artificial reefs, rock piles. Basically, they are structure-oriented, and a lot of times they are elevated above the bottom of it. Now, a lot of times you'll really get hit on the way down, so you really know what you need to feel for. Heavy tackle is recommended for meat fishing, even electric reels. Amberjack can be caught on medium gear if you're really looking for a workout or a true sportsman. Also, they can be sight casted too on top with flies. Commonly found around schools of smaller reef fish, so at any time when you're reeling up smaller fish and you get hit and broke off, very good possibility it's an amberjack. Large live baits are good. Bucktails, plugs, vertical jigging, poppers when they're on top. These guys will eat just about anything. If you get into a school of these fish and your adrenaline is flowing, they will be fun to catch, but I promise you, the following day, you might be seeking some medical attention from your local doctor or a chiropractor. So it's a fun workout, good fish to catch, but I will promise you, the next day, medical attention.
Thanks
and I got
for the warning, Ronnie.
And I got to pick Captain Mike Avenant and one of his customers, typical size of the amberjacks through the region. Now, on the offshore side, the permit. Wiggins Pass, the Stump Pass, fishing most noted structure and up to a quarter mile away from the structure, as close to 7 miles and out to 25 miles. Anchoring up or drifting across, looking for fish on your bottom finder on top. Now, some areas fish are schooled up, other areas of fish are scattered, but good news if you do get upon some of these fish right now are being taken up to 35 pounds. You got to take a little bit of patience and run to different areas if the bite's not on. Make sure you have live crabs. If you don't, bright colored bucktails, tip with shrimp, but also look for plenty of crabs right now floating along the surface with the tide on top of some of this structure. Now, on the inshore side, the tarpon. You want to concentrate right now from Sanibel to Punta Gorda, fishing most bridge spans all throughout the night. But I can tell you right now, the incoming tide has been great with plenty of opportunity. But with the pass of this full moon, believe it or not, we're having temps during the day in the 90s, but at night it cools down into the 70s. And if there's a breeze right now, believe it or not, you almost need a jacket because it gets relatively cool, and that's why I believe these fish are biting pretty good. But let me tell you one thing. The last 2 or 3 hours before dawn, get on the inside of the sandbar between it and the shoreline and just listen and drift. Plenty of fish right now, 30 to 100 pounds from Jug Creek north to Ponce Park. Walk the dog lures in white, red and white, black and silver, or the Bass Assassin 5-inch didacker, which I've been having a lot of luck with a 5-0 swim hook in smoking shad, June bug, and gold rush. All those baits right now I just mentioned in the soft plastic are dark silhouette. We've been catching plenty of fish. Now also on the incoming tide, the trout. We want to concentrate right now from York Key to Jug Creek, early morning incoming, efforts on the inside of the sandbar to the shoreline, fan casting topwater plugs or 4-inch soft plastic paddle tails on a jig head in the pothole. Now when the tide gets low, concentrate on the outer edges. You want to get in depths of about 18 inches to 4 foot of water along the bait pods and groups of birds, topwater plugs, and soft plastics on a jig head to catch some fish. And just a quick note before I sign off, you know, a couple months back, a new reel that came out for 2016 is the Akuma Inspira. The 30s and 40s, they come in blue and they come in white. I have been putting a lot of work on these reels. For the last 6 months I've been using them. I haven't had a single wind knot using these reels. And believe it or not, guys, it's an affordable reel. It's in the $80 range. So if you're looking for a good reel at a good price, give the Inspira a try.
Hey, Ronnie, I got a question for you in regards to the reels. What size braid are you loading up on those reels, bud?
Now, let me tell you something. On the 30s, I'm using 20-pound braid. On the 40s, I'm using 30-pound braid. But let me also tell you one thing. A lot of times when I cast, I don't click the handle to flip the bail. I manually flip the bail while casting, and after the lure hits the water, I flip the bail again. That's a big tip, and that's a lot of things that's helped a lot of people I've talked to with the braided line. But this reel has really been good, and it could be the reel. It's just a little tip I'm giving you.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Southwest region. Captain Ronnie says offshore. Dolphin, bonita, blackfins, 80 feet and beyond. Look for the bait pods and groups of birds. And then inshore, redfish, Plover Key to Rabbit Key, fishing the outer Gulf Islands mid-afternoon incoming, using live pilchards, topwater plugs, gold and silver spoons, Bree.
All right, save the date, everyone. September 22nd is the CCA Homestead Banquet and Auction, which will be a night full of fun. You won't want to miss it. To purchase your tickets, visit ccaflorida.org. You're going to be there, right, Rick?
Of course.
You are the mayor of Homestead. Let's be real. Let's be real.
No, that would be Jeff Porter.
Oh, okay. Let's check in with our Decks and Docks East Region, Captain Mike Holliday, where depth is key to your AJ bite for this weekend. Right, Mike?
That's a definite. You can pick a wreck or artificial reef in more than 60 feet of water in my region, and it's got reef donkeys. You just got to decide what kind of ride you want. Do you want the domestic donkey ride through the park, or do you want the full-on Mexican donkey ride down the side of a mountain? The key here, the deeper the wreck, the larger the fish. You can go places like the Amazon, the Halsey, the David T, or the Draga, and you can find enough 15 to 20-pound AJs to make your crew break a sweat. Or you can go out to the Mullifin, the Rankin, and the Wickstrom Reef, and you can cause a hernia. So it's up to you. You want to make a drift over the wreck, mark the fish so you know where they're schooled and how deep they're sitting, then drop a live threadfin, a sardine, a pilchard, or a blue runner to that depth and drift back to the fish. You want 50 to 80-pound tackle on a 7/0 circle hook and enough weight to get baits down quickly You can use a Williamson Vortex jig on the sardine, either in the sardine or mackerel colors. Average amberjack's going to be 10 to 30 pounds, but expect to find fish to 60 pounds or more on those deeper wrecks. The other bite, the summer sailfish bite, continues to be the best thing going for blue water anglers. There's a huge body of fish stretching from Jupiter all the way up to Fort Pierce. They're in anywhere from 50 to 200 feet of water. The scales are either on the bait schools, around the reefs and wrecks, or traveling the color changes in the weed lines. They also seem to be traveling in small pods of, 2 to 4 fish. So if you hook a fish, be sure to keep more baits in the water so you can double and triple up. As always, look for floppers and floaters. Work those areas first, then go to the wrecks or the bait schools. You can troll ballyhoo and, do okay, but if you're looking to rack up numbers, live pilchards, sardines, and threadfins, put them on a, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, 7.0 VMC tournament circle hook. Live mullet will also work. And the average sailfish in my region is going to be 40 to 60 pounds.
All right, Mike, before we go inshore, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Navionics. We're talking about just offshore of your region in 131 feet of water. Now, the great thing about Navionics and that I really love is when I'm looking at it, we have lots of wrecks. And when you get those wrecks, I simply just take my cursor, put on here, and guess what? By zooming in, make sure you zoom in, guys, you can actually get those GPS numbers, which will help you get close to the wrecks whenever you're snapper fishing or whatever, maybe AJ fishing. All right, Mike, what do you got for us inshore?
Well, the full moon in July, that's when the mangrove snapper come into the inlets in big numbers. A lot of these fish are from the offshore reefs, so they're larger than that normal 6 to 10 inch fish that we see all year. These snapper are, 1 to 3 pounds in average, with fish to 5 to 6 pounds in the mix. And they're all schooled up so you can easily catch enough fish for, for a meal or two. Pick an inlet, wait for the tide to ebb so the fish will come out of the rocks. Throw a 3 to 4 inch Spanish sardine, a pilchard, a threadfin, even a live shrimp up to the rocks. Wait for the line to come tight. You can chum with juvenile pilchards and bring the fish right to the back of the boat or right to where your baits are. Chum to where you cast your bait. But be sure you know the snapper aggregate size and bag limit. And you'll be ahead of that game. And the other thing, despite all the bad water coming out of our inlet, this has really been an outstanding summer for catch and release snook fishing. All the larger fish that have been stationed on the nearshore reefs, they've come to the beach and inlets to spawn. You'll notice most of the fish you catch are silver, not that dark, tannic, stained inshore fish. That means places like the Juneau and Lake Worth Piers, the south side of Palm Beach Inlet, the north side of Jupiter and St. Lucie Inlet, and the South Jetty and Fort Pierce. They'll all have fish on them right now. In the low light, early morning, you can throw 4 to 7 inch swim baits or jigs, or you can work the sandbars and shorelines with topwater plugs. But once the sun gets up, that's the time to switch over to live bait like croakers, sand perch, pilchards, or sardines. Fish those baits on 20 to 30 pound tackle or 40 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 3.0 to 5.0 VMC circle hook. Average snook's going to be 8 to 18 pounds. Be sure you handle them with care and revive them before you let them go. I got a photo there. That's Chris Megan. He caught that big snook along the shoreline inside the St. Lucie Inlet, and that fish ate a live redfin herring.
All right, so Mike, every week we talking about bass fishing. So what do you got for us this week, bub?
Well, the Stick Marsh Farm 13 Reservoir in Fellsmere has always been known for big bass. And even the school fish that come out of there tend to be larger than most of the other lakes around Florida. If you can find the moving water, then you can catch bass any time of day right now. It's not just a morning bite. It's the water's moving. The moving water's cooler. That makes the fish more comfortable and more active. So the first places you want to look are around the spillways there in the Stick Marsh. If they're running and you can avoid all the weeds that are moving in the current, you can easily rack up good numbers of bass. And I'm talking like 100 fish days with a 3 pound average and fish to 6 pounds or more. If it's not moving, it's more like 20 or 30 fish. Any white soft plastic, a bass tassin, fork tail or split tail shad, rig it weedless on a 5.0 swim hook. That'll rack up numbers, as well as 7 inch swim bait or a tap out worm rig, Senka style. So find the moving water in the Stick Marsh. You're going to find lots of fish right now.
All right, so Mike, I got a question for you. The water certainly is an issue in your region. You got any up-to-date reports as what's going on, please?
Well, we're gonna keep seeing that freshwater discharge. I'm gonna guess all the way until October. But the thing you want to remember is freshwater is lighter than saltwater, so it's on the surface. Down deep, the fish are still there. So even all the way up in the St. Lucie River, up by the Roosevelt Bridge, there's still plenty of snook and tarpon in that water. They're in the saltwater that lays below the freshwater. So don't be afraid to go up fish those areas. Just stay away from the areas that have any algae that you see, and you'll be fine. And all the inlets are on fire right now.
All right, thank you so much for straightening that out for us. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the East region. Captain Mike says inshore, dawn tarpon fishing in Big Mud Creek, Houdini-colored 4-inch saltwater assassin shads cast to the rolling fish, and then offshore, mutton snapper at night on the Loran Tower ledge, sardines, cigar minnows, or pilchards on a long fluorocarbon leader is going to work for them snappers.
Mike bringing in the positivity up
He
there with the
always
algae.
does.
All right, well, if you're headed to the Keys this weekend, stick around for our last report of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. We'll be right back.
Look
Rick,
at that
what is that?
pretty new F350C.
It's so pretty. It's got sparkles.
It does.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a paw and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
My name is Colby Coombs, Denali Search and Rescue. The only thing that's warm within 100 miles is your body. People get in over their heads pretty easily. You gotta risk your life to go help them. You just can't rely on hope. You have to buckle down and do it.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Today, we're talking about cars, but there's a catch. You're only going to answer me in emojis. This all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze has built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi with 24 gigs of data.
Wow.
Describe how you feel about the Cruze.
It's pretty darn cool, man.
It's hot. Simple as that.
The Honda Civic doesn't have all of that.
Is that a Ninja?
Can't be seen in this car.
Nice.
Today's Coastal Conservation Minute is about taking care of those trash fish whenever you actually catch one. Now, we all know we've gone out and we've caught our trash grand slams, whether it was a catfish, a ladyfish, a jack, or sometimes if you're fishing on the bottom and you catch a stingray, or even a puffer fish or a blowfish, understand that all of these fish, even though they're not very desirable, they have a purpose. Now, anything that's edible that may be laying on the ocean floor, these fish act like little vacuum cleaners and they go along the floor cleaning up our mess. So make sure that if you catch one, that you take the ample amount of time and you release it unharmed so that it can go back to doing its job, and that's keeping our ocean floors clean. And that's today's Coastal Conservation Minute. You know, Bree, when I think of the days in my career of guiding, that ladyfish and jacks and I mean just all different types of fish that people consider trash fish have saved the day, or more importantly, entertained a kid. That's why we have to take care of all these things.
Yeah.
Because it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, kids don't know the difference. They just want to catch fish.
They just want something.
And
Put
have
it
that
on their
memory.
rod.
Okay, about to tear up. Okay, and last but not least is our all-star captain from the Keys region, Randy Tao. Tell us how we're going to have fun this weekend.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, just to comment on Rick's story there, guiding in the Keys for 35 years, if we counted how many jacks and ladyfish and trout and stuff we've caught, and people felt like they had a great day, you know, it's really huge, and they're important for all of the stuff we do back there. So it's one of those things. They're always our go-to, that's for sure. But we got amberjacks in the Keys, throughout the Keys, Key Largo to Key West, dry tortugas, and there's no shortage of them. It depends how you want to go after them. That's really what it boils down to. You can catch them in shallow water. You can catch them out on the deep offshore humps. That's a little different game out there. You've got 300 to 400 feet of water that you're dealing with, and you want to have a heavy rod either way if you're in shallow water or if you're in deep water, and a live bait is probably your best bet to get a bite. Now, a blue runner, a goggle eye, something like that is for sure going to work for you, and these things, they're called reef donkeys for a reason, and they put up a serious fight. Now, down in Key West, some of these guys down there get these fish in shallow water. They'll actually chum them with live pilchards, get them up near the surface, and guys will catch them on a fly rod, and that's easy to do when you're in shallow water. Extremely difficult out in the deep water like the humps. And then you've got a shark problem as well. The sharks to love eat amberjacks on these offshore humps. So most of the amberjacks that you catch, if there's any sharks around, they don't make it up to the top. And that's just how that world works out there. It's a bait fish for something a little bigger. And I've got a photo of Oscar from Dallas, Texas, with an amberjack he caught. That's the first fish he...
You there, Randy?
Yeah.
That's the first fish he ever caught?
First fish he ever caught in saltwater. He had never been saltwater fishing. We were bottom fishing, and he caught an amberjack, and that's, I told him to retire on that one. That was the king of his fish right there.
All right, man. So tell me about the mangrove snappers.
You know, this time of year, July, full moon, we're right around the full moon, and the mangrove snappers are spawning. They're spawning all along the oceanside patches and the reef. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to look for rocky bottom, 30 to 50 feet, or structure. If you got some wrecks out there, that's even better. But these mangroves get on the big side, and they stack up, and they're a lot of fun to catch, certainly great to eat. And you're going to want live bait. Pilchards are always a great bait for these, or a pinfish, and ballyhoo plugs work as well. But some of these mangroves right now will be in the 4 to 6 pound range, and you can fish for them at night. A lot of guys go at night. Some guys go during the day. Captain Brian Williams, he goes all the time and catches stuff, but he's been doing it at night just because during the day it's been so hot, and he's had some really good reports the last couple of nights with these mangrove snappers. He's only fishing about 4 hours, and they're getting plenty of fish to eat, and also they're even releasing a few. But I've got a photo that he sent me with Chad and Jeff Barstek from Chicago with some of these mangroves they're catching.
That's nice. Good job, Brian. All right, what do you got for us inshore, Randy?
You know, the red fishing hasn't been treating us very well, but there are a few around, and the guys that I talk to that have the technical poling skiffs, they love to push a boat around, and they've been finding a few reds. Now, they're not big numbers, but there are a few up on top of the flats. It seems like the guys that are having any kind of consistent red fishing are finding them poling. You know, a lot of our snook spots that we fish this time of year, we would always catch redfish along the shorelines or beaches or some of the deep channels, but I have not caught a redfish in quite a few months, but they are up on the flats, and some of the guys are getting them to bite. They're still a great fish if you're a fly fisherman throwing the fly at, and it's short-lived. It's been best on the rising tide, the first couple of hours on the rising tide. When that tide is real low or falling, it's been really slow. I was talking to Captain Dave Dinkert. He's our local redfish expert, telling me he's getting a few every day, but he's got to really work for it.
All right, quickly on the trout, bub.
You know, the trout bite's been great. It's one of those fish, like you were saying earlier, a go-to fish to make your day. And guys are doing that around the Flamingo area, Blue Bank area, and they're fishing with a 1/4-ounce jig tipped with shrimp or under a popping cork. And some of these fish are in the 3 to 4 pound range, so there's quite a few of them right now if you just want to go have fun.
All right, thank you so much, Randy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the king sailfish hotspots from the Florida Keys. Inshore trout fish the edges of the channels where you have moving water with a 1/4-ounce jig tipped with a shrimp or under a popping cork. And then offshore mangrove snappers anchored in 35 to 50 feet of water on rocky bottom. Chum lightly and use live pilchards with no lead or fresh cut bait using a 1/4-ounce jig head.
Well, there's never any shortage of tournaments in the Florida Keys, so let's check out what's going on in the Florida Keys coming up. All right, the Robert James Sales Slam Celebrity Tournament, set for September 9th through the 11th in Key West, is the first of 3 annual Keys fall tournaments that raises funds for the fight against cystic fibrosis. At the Slam, anglers target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flats Grand Slam. Named after the man known as Mr. Everglades, the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship, based in Isla Mirada, September 16th through the 18th, targets 7 species in the Everglades National Park waters. The tournament raises funds for projects to protect Everglades fishery resources. The Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, set for September 22nd through the 25th, recognizes individual and team champions scoring the largest bonefish and permit and top anglers in fly and Grand Slam divisions. At the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, scheduled for September 23rd to the 25th in Key Largo, anglers can win coveted trophies for catch and release of trout, snook, and redfish. Proceeds support Take Stock in Children scholarships for financially challenged Upper Keys students. And now, even more tournaments are happening, and we're going to hear from Andy Newman.
Well, hi guys. The Key West Fishing Tournament is an 8-month-long competition that runs through November 30th and is open to visiting and resident anglers. You can enter catches and witness releases for free at designated weigh stations in the Lower Keys and Key West. All entries receive a certificate noting the catch and qualify for prizes. There are more than 35 eligible species, including Amberjack. More details at KeyWestFishingTournament.com, and for more information on other tournaments in the Florida Keys, it's always FLAKeys.com.
Okay, coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're telling you what to expect for next week, which you definitely won't want to miss. Don't leave us just yet. We'll be back in a hot second. Almost as hot as that.
All right, guys, we brought you to this construction trailer to talk about trucks today. Anybody know which full-size pickup offers a V8 that can tow up to 12,000 pounds?
The Chevy.
Ram.
I say Ford.
What do you think?
Whoa, what was that?
What are you moving?
Where are we going?
It's the answer to the question, baby. Silverado.
Yep, Chevy Silverado offers best-in-class V8 towing.
You guys weighed me before I came in here?
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Uncompromising. Like the fishermen who swear by it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week, it's all about Amberjack. Just kidding. It's not about Amberjack. We just did Amberjack. Next week, it's all about sharks.
You're
gotcha.
absolutely right.
Love sharks. All right, now, everyone, we have a new contest, which may be one of my favorites because we wanted you to enter to win a fishing trip with myself and Rick, as well as a 2-night stay at the Guy Harvey Outpost in Alamorada. You guys don't get to come.
That's right.
To enter, visit any Bell's outlet store, our website at the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.com, and on our Facebook page. What do you think about
So
that?
what do you think? I think it's time for us to go fishing.
I think
leave
so too.
Leave the
It's,
boys.
Yeah, you always leave me home.
It's time for the host time.
Host time to go
Host
fishing.
time.
And
Not
whoever
to be
wins the
mistaken.
contest.
Yes,
Bells.
exactly right. Hey, don't forget to
Yeah.
get registered. Hey,
Booger.
don't forget Sportsman's
Booger.
Adventures. I think your show is coming pretty soon.
Sportsman Adventures, exactly. Join us for Sharks next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep
We'll
your
go catch an
sharks.
AJ.